Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee with me, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I will be your host for the next 30 minutes, and we have an amazing guest with us today, and we're going to be talking all about supply chain disruptions. We're going to be analyzing Amazon supply chain. Plus, we're going to be talking about how you can actually keep some of your returns as well. And I cannot wait to get into that with you. But first, let's talk a little bit what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, of course, we've got our giveaway. So, for anybody who is following us and engaging with us the most on social media, remember we've got a giveaway and we give away our Let's Talk Supply Chain mug to somebody who is engaging with us the most for the week or the month, and we call them our follower of the month as well. So make sure to engage and comment and react to our posts, and you might be the follower of the month getting our mug at the end of the month as well. The next one is I did want to show you the Let's Talk Supply Chain Instagram page. So if you guys want to go to the Let's Talk Supply Chain Instagram and DM us, see in the middle there it says DM us Talk One for your free gift. You can get our 107 page supply chain dictionary full of definitions and acronyms for free. We do sell it on our website, but we're going to give it to you for free if you go and DM us on Instagram. So that is happening. What else is happening? We've got a brand new episode with Forkites, and they're talking all about yard management. So they've come on the show. They're talking about what Forkites does with a focus on yard management. And this conversation with Chris and Cortland was a lot of fun. We really got into a lot of their knowledge around supply chain and yard management and what it actually means for you. So go and check it out. It's episode 235, wherever you listen to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast. We also have the link in the comments for you as well. And this week, we have a new blended episode for you. This is last month's episode focused on veterans. So if you missed that, go and check that one out because it was great. We had Daniel Stanton, Mr. Supply Chain, on that episode. And then, of course, this month's episode is about ageism. And the conversation, like the magic happened within that conversation. So stay tuned because Wednesday that is going to come out and you're not going to want to miss it. You can actually find it on the blended page at letstalksupplychain.com as well. So what else have we got? We've got upcoming events. So Wednesday at noon Eastern, we've got Purpose Planet Profit with Topple. And they're going to be talking all about using blockchain for sustainability and actually tracing back to origins. So you're not going to want to miss that. You can head over to the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page. We've got an event created and you can click attend so that you get reminded about when we are going to go live for that. And well, of course, we've got Thoughts and Coffee, but January, we've got Manifest. I'm going to be live and in person January 25th to 27th at the Paris in Las Vegas with Manifest. And I'm going to be doing some on-site podcasting. I'm also going to be moderating a panel discussion about visibility. And we're going to take a deep dive into into different technology providers and what visibility actually means for them and their clients. It's going to be a really cool conversation. And then, of course, we've got Log Tech Live that happens the first Friday of every single month here on Let's Talk Supply Chain. And then on December 23rd, we've got Coming in Hot with Abby Baird. I'm not sure who our guest is going to be this month, but it's always a really fun and engaging conversation. So that's a little bit about us and what's happening. We do have a bunch more live shows coming at you in Q1 of next year. And I cannot wait to let you know who is going to be hosting, what the topics are going to be about. But before we do that, we're actually going to be sending out a survey to everybody on our newsletter list. So if you want to give us some feedback and be part of what we're going to be launching in Q1, you definitely want to go to Let's Talk Supply Chain and sign up for our newsletter. And we're going to be sending out a survey because we want to hear from you. Who do you want to hear from? What are the topics that you want to hear about? What keeps you engaged? And so, like I said, we are going to be doing that on the newsletter. We're also going to be doing that in our polls once a month because 2022 is all about you. We want it to be about the audience. We want it to be about the supply chainers that we create content for, and we want to hear from you. So hopefully you will engage with us and provide us with the feedback, because we want to make sure that we are creating content that you're going to love and that you want to hear about, and that's going to help you in your day-to-day lives as well. All right. Well, without further ado, it's time to bring up our guest for today. Lindsey, good morning or good evening.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. Nice to see you, Sarah.
Yes, I've just lost your video feed though. It's gone green
Uh-oh.
for some reason. Can we fix that? Anyways, let's keep going, because I know that you're there. So why don't you give us a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Lindsey Hermes, Head of Enterprise Solutions at Serai. I work with all of our large customers to solve their biggest problems with Serai's technology. Serai was founded out of HSBC a few years ago, and we, in our time that we've been live, have been on a mission to simplify global trade with our B2B platform. Today, we help SMEs find new partners and trade easily with confidence. We also, for larger customers like the ones that we work with, collect information on their supply chain partners. We also help them trace down to the raw materials what's in their products. So we've been busy, Sarah, because in the last really 2 years, we've gone from having 3,000 companies on our platform at the beginning of 2021. Today we hit a major milestone, and we now have 20,000 companies on our platform. So
Wow,
let's
that
hear
is
it for Serai.
incredible. That's incredible growth. Congratulations.
Thank you. It also explains why a lot of us are really looking forward to the holidays and having a little break.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, with that comes a lot of responsibility, a lot of scaling, as I would know, because I am scaling like crazy as well, too. And one thing that I did want to let everybody know is that Serai, and Lindsey in particular, is going to be my guest on the podcast that's coming out on Monday. So you can actually learn more about who they are and what they do, and real life examples of how they help their customers. And it's a really great episode. So stay tuned for that. Now, because you're in Hong Kong, so if I don't know if everybody knows, but you're in Hong Kong, and you live in Hong Kong right now. Can you give us a little bit of an inside view as to what everybody's talking about in supply chain, how they're thinking about it, how they're thinking about global trade?
We are experiencing a shift. There is a huge shift to a digital mindset and a need for visibility throughout the supply chain. And what that is bringing are opportunities to collaborate and innovate, because your supply chains have to be resilient, they have to be agile. And that's where we're seeing a shift. So a lot of the major brands that we work with, or retailers, they're thinking on their feet and getting creative. But we are also experiencing this huge digital transformation that's happening around the world because of COVID. But we're really seeing a faster adoption out here, and the embracing of new technology at a rapid pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always really, really nice to hear about what is happening globally, right? With our franchise, Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac, we do get a bit of a glimpse into what's happening over in the Asia Pacific region. But it's such a big part of the world. And so with you being in Hong Kong, I just wanted to get an idea of how people are thinking about it, and if they're thinking about it differently, or if they're having any, different challenges than we are having over here.
Yeah, I think because of the different challenges that we're seeing with COVID and a new variant on the rise, many businesses learned from what happened at the beginning of 2020. They don't want to be caught off guard. And that's where they're leveraging data in different ways. So really in APAC here, we're seeing new interest in different data sets. We're seeing a hybrid approach to having multiple solutions to help paint a clearer picture of your supply chain. And that's really where you have to stay on top of it, and doing it in a spreadsheet just is not working.
I think I don't even know what we're at right now, but we posted a meme about Excel spreadsheets, and I think it got like 50,000 views and over like, I don't know, 200 comments because everybody loves to hate the spreadsheet. That's how I feel with these memes.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's a time and a place for it, but when you're trying to see what's happening in real time, most people pick up the phone. They rely on WhatsApp and WeChat out here. Thankfully, it's not carrier pigeon or fax, but that's really where you're only getting a sliver of
Yeah.
what's happening. What is the reality in that situation? And when you have additional insights, that's where you're able to move faster, like some of our friends who we're going to talk about later.
Awesome. Okay, well, before we do that, let's go to our poll of the week. So, this was our poll. What is the best Christmas song? And I apologize to those in the audience that maybe do not celebrate Christmas, but we wanted to put it out there just to see what everybody thought. Because I think it was about a month ago on Thoughts and Coffee, I talked about the Mariah Carey song and how bars and things like that are putting a ban on playing the Mariah Carey song over and over and over again. So we got 431 votes on this one. 34% said All I Want for Christmas is their favorite song. 28% said Most Wonderful Time of Year. 17% said Rock Around the Christmas Tree. And then we've got 89 comments. Before I dive into the comments, though, Lindsey, what is your favorite Christmas song? Can you weigh in here?
I've got to give it up for Mariah. She is just the signal of the season. And to bring it back to Serai, that's what we do. We help bring those signals to life. So you know what's going on. You know it's Christmas when you hear Mariah Carey. And we got to keep her in diamonds. So this is where it's all about Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas is you.
I love it. Joe says Christmas song by Nat King Cole. I actually don't know. I think I commented on this. I did. I said it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but for me, anything by Michael Bublé or Bubbles as we call him around here, I mean, I that is Christmas for me. Michael Bublé is one of my favorites. Our friend over at Google, who's the senior director at Google, Claudia Knowlton Chaik, has a variety of them rocking around the shipping dock, she says. I'm dreaming of a firm order, the 12 days of inventory, walking in a server wonderland. I sing them all. And she says we could get the recording over with her. I mean, if that doesn't change your view of Christmas songs and how they apply to supply chain, I don't know what does.
I want to go to her Christmas party.
I'm going to go one of these days. Absolutely, for sure. I got invited last year, but couldn't go because of COVID. So hopefully one of these days. Michael says Last Christmas or Driving Home for Christmas. Kara says Last Christmas by Wham. That's a pretty good song too. That's pretty popular too.
Really good selection here.
And Joe says Michael Bublé had a great special last week. He did have a great special last week. The only thing was I didn't think there was enough songs. Did you think there was enough songs? Because I think there was, and I wasn't paying too much attention, but I think there was only like 4. Anyways, we've got a lot to talk about today. So let's get into our articles. That was a lot of fun. And thank you to everybody who commented and participated in our polls and do so every single week because we love hearing from you and sort of getting an idea of what your favorite things to do are. All right, so our first article actually comes from Serai's website. The reason why I picked this one is because I really, really, really liked this article. So we're going to put the link in the comments so you can go and check it out. But it talks about supply chain disruptions, but it also talks about how to respond to them because a lot of times we're talking about the disruption, but we're not necessarily talking about the tangible actions or takeaways that we can do to actually respond to them. And what I also liked was that this article was updated to include the Omicron scenario right now, which I thought was great, right? Because sometimes we write these articles and we kind of let them live. on, but obviously this is a very moving target and we want to make sure that they're updated. So I really, really liked that as well. In this article, you will see how they've categorized disruptions. So low, medium, and high, which I thought was nice. And they also talk about supply chain being repurposed and reshaped, two words that we're not hearing enough. But I think, when we think about risk management, we think about what supply chain needs to look like in 2022 and beyond. Those words, reshaping, repurposing, are some really great words because I feel like they're more of a softer approach to actually changing your strategy and not so overwhelming. So Lindsey, tell us a little bit about this article, and then I will tell you some of the takeaways that I had afterwards.
Yeah, great. So I love this article too, Sarah. It highlights exactly the conversations that we have repeatedly every day with our clients, and we've understood their struggles. I know that not everybody in the supply chain is getting a lot of sleep these days. And so you have to choose your battles. Where can you pick and make decisions that are going to make a distinct difference in your business and your bottom line? Most companies are really focused on cost efficiencies or operational efficiencies. So when you need to pivot, how do you do that? We've identified some great options for clients that, like ours, have taken. And with that, it's all about exploring new strategies, leveraging a digital mindset, and making sure that you're up to speed on all of these risks, because we know that with Omicron, it can change a business overnight. And that's really where you need to be able to reshape what your supply chain looks like. If not, longer term, even shorter term. These are really actionable insights in this article. We try and do that for everything that we put out because, as you'll see, we've got in the chat, I think, a few links to our website. We recently did a report with KPMG called Moving the Needle, focused on the apparel supply chain. There are some great testimonials and case studies in there about the need for transparency. And really, when you want to take action, where do you go? You Google something, right? If you need a different option. And this is where we want to direct you to the right resources that can help you look at a few new options. That's really where this article is just the tip of the iceberg. And we have plenty more to check out on our website.
Awesome. I love that. I think AJ is going to put the link to that KPMG one. We already have one about the supply chain predictions, which we're going to talk about in the next article, but I think he's going to put that one in there as well, so you can check that out. Some of the other things, Imtiaz said that it's a very informative article. Thank you so much for sharing that. Some of the things that I also liked from this article is that you talk about the role of supply chain in ensuring business continuity. You also do a deep dive into a risk assessment. And so you provide tangible takeaways depending on which part of the business obviously has the risk and what to take a look at with that particular risk, which I thought was very, very, very awesome, right? Because some of the times we talk about, what the risk assessment needs to look like, what you need to look at, but then we don't really give the solutions. So a couple of tangible action items or takeaways from this article: global diversity, cargo carrier assessments, cultural research, market exploitation, and employee training. So 5 takeaways from this article that you can actually take into your risk assessment and use as possible solutions to the challenges that you're finding when you actually, sit down and take a look at that supply chain. I mean, honestly, everybody is exhausted right now, but we do need to take a look at where those risks are in our supply chain and what we're willing to take risks on now and what we're not, because I'm pretty sure those are going to be changing, and they're going to be changing pretty quickly in 2022.
Absolutely. And Sarah, it's that digital mindset and the talent, the training, retraining, and re-education of the talent pool at every level in a company. That's going to be a competitive advantage for businesses in the new year, because when you know what tricks you can pull up from out your sleeve, faster than the competition, you're going to make decisions faster. And that's where having options, including Serai, we have our new visibility solution. That's really where you get to learn what you didn't know before.
Right, right. And data, honestly, going into 2022, I don't even think that it can be a conversation anymore. You got to have your data house in order moving into 2022. All right. So our next article isn't really an article. It's more of a video that we're going to showcase. I found this video. I can't remember how I found it. I think I found it through somebody posting it on LinkedIn. I wish I could remember who that was, but it really does a deep dive into Amazon's supply chain, which I thought, obviously, we've talked about Amazon and Walmart and how they're using supply chain as a competitive advantage. And I really like the fact that this particular video, it's about 15 minutes. I'm going to only show you about 5 minutes, but it really goes to show you how Amazon is thinking about logistics. And it gives us some really good stats and things to consider. So one of the things that this video says is that there's only, I think, 70 something containers. Now we're up to 100 containers in the port of LA and Long Beach, just to give you a bit of an update, because I know we've talked about this on pretty much every Thoughts and Coffee over the last couple of weeks. Some of the big moves that Amazon has made, they only spend 2 days in the harbor. Now, one of the things that Steve Ferreira said was that they do spend 2 days in the harbor. My question is, was that in LA and Long Beach, or was that in some other port? Because if they're squeaking in their vessels within 2 days of being in the harbor, I think that might upset a couple of people. What they're also doing is they're making their own containers and they're leasing planes. Some of the stats that come out of this video is that 14%, they have a 14% rise in out of stock, even though they have focused on their logistics. And prices are up across Amazon by 25%, which, I mean, at the end of the day, is not something that we are, exactly surprised about, because inflation, we've been talking about that with the rise of the costs of logistics and things like that. And obviously Amazon doesn't control everything, because they also have sellers that sell themselves on their website as well. But they also mentioned that, and I think it was Britton Ladd that said this, they want to be the largest logistics company. They don't want to be the largest retailer as everybody kind of sees them to be. They want to be the largest logistics company, and they've always wanted to be the largest logistics company. They spent $61 billion on shipping in 2020, which is a lot of money. So, Lindsey, I'm going to bring you in here. When you saw this video, talk to me a little bit about this. What sort of stood out for you?
I think what stands out the most is the fact that innovation has no bounds with Amazon. And they are looking at how do they become even more vertically integrated than they were before. It's exactly the move that they made with AWS, Amazon Web Services, for their Black Friday sales. And, now they're wanting to ride the rails that they're building even more so. It's an incredibly smart move, and I'm guessing that some of their competitors in a leadership position are kicking themselves thinking, why didn't I think of that?
Right. That's so true. And they've been making these logistics tweaks throughout COVID. Right? Like I mean, it was something that they're saying that Amazon has thought about for years prior to COVID. But when COVID hit, what they're saying is that they were kind of ready for it. And what they've done is they've just made tweaks to what they've been doing in their logistics strategy as they've been going on. And so they have felt the disruptions, but they haven't felt them, I think, as much as other people have. And what I really liked, and we're actually on the part of the video, is they show you the journey of a holiday gift. And I thought they did a really good job in this video of really showcasing what shipping and supply chain actually looks like. They use words like first mile and middle mile and final mile, which is great. I mean, those are words to our ears as supply chainers, because, now we're getting supply chain out into the world, and really everybody getting behind, what that delivery actually looked like from start to finish, which I think is amazing. I think it'll be interesting to watch. Amazon is controlling every single part of their supply chain. Walmart, we've talked about in the past in Thoughts and Coffee about how they are doubling down on utilizing supply chain as a competitive advantage. So I think everything that you and I have talked about today really leads us up to controlling as much as you possibly can through data, through technology, and then rethinking that strategy and taking a look at what other people are doing.
Absolutely. And this is where having collaboration with your supply chain becomes absolutely essential in getting control over what is today quite chaotic. So with
Absolutely.
that, one thing that really came out in the video was Walmart even collaborating and cooperating with their competitors and being the 3PL for what hardware store is it? I can't remember. And
Oh,
we're seeing other companies do this as well. They're implementing the Amazon model. I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago, Ashley Furniture acquired their logistics company
yes.
to run logistics for them. And I think this is exactly what we're going to see more of in the coming year. But really touched on in the video the impact to the environment around the different size ships. The cost of the containers is one cost, but what about the cost to the environment? That carbon footprint is going to be more significant. And that's really something that every company needs to be quite mindful of.
Absolutely. And so you can find the link to that video in the comments. You can also find the link to Serai's supply chain predictions, which I think between the video and the predictions report can give you some good ideas, moving into 2022. All right, so let's get to our last article. So we are talking about returns, and retailers are telling customers to keep them. Why are they doing this? Well, there's a couple of things. There is a huge cost to returning an item. And if an item doesn't make sense to be returned to the retailer is just telling the customer, you know what? Just keep it. Because it says that processing returns cost $10 to $20 plus freight, which is a lot of money to a retailer. So depending on what that looks like as far as their bottom line, they might not want it back because they don't want to pay shipping as much as you do, right? Especially on return items that might not be able to be resold. What they said was online returns are up 70% in 2020. So I'd like to see what that number actually is in 2021, because that is a really high number. But remember, in 2020 there was a lot of lockdowns. So people weren't going to the stores to return, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd be interesting to see what that is for 2021. And they're talking about it being the new return/giveaway policy. But you don't just get to keep the item. You have to have purchase history with the retailer. And it has to be a product that's unlikely to be resold. And it's got to be cheap enough that they don't want to put it back into inventory. One other thing to note is that if you have too many returns on Amazon, you could get banned. So there's some good things about this, and there's some things that you need to think about. But I think this is great, right? Because you just talked about sustainability, and this is one way for, hopefully they don't throw it in the garbage. If they do, that kind of defeats the purpose. But this is one thing that we can do around sustainability, especially on the returns. What did you think about this, Lindsey?
I mean, guilty. I have done a few more returns than usual since COVID started, but I'm really glad I did my holiday shopping very carefully in advance. I think we have to look at greening up the supply chain. It is one of our top predictions for 2022, and this is essential for every business because it's going to be regulated eventually. So this is a choice. It's a sunk cost. They've decided not to capture the return. And I also look at this as a new revenue stream for another business. I think there's a lot of creativity that we're going to see around this. And perhaps, this is where the next Amazon gets their start.
Yeah, that is a really, really, really good point. All right, so we are almost at the end. I did just want to give a little bit of a plug to the nonprofit that we've started, that we've extended the Blended podcast into a nonprofit called Blended Pledge. And we are going to be accepting donations through a GoFundMe page from individuals who want to make an impact in diversity and inclusion. And we're also looking to help diverse voices get onto industry stages as well. So through individual donations and corporate sponsorships. So if you haven't gone to check it out, we do have a Blended page over on LinkedIn with all of the information there. And we'd love to have you help us make a visual impact in the industry. Lindsey, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on today. I can't wait for the community to hear more about Serai on the podcast on Monday. And thanks to everybody who joined us today.
Thanks, Sarah. Really great to speak with you.